Well, I've just been recently diagnosed, and I'm just starting to put pieces together to try to figure out how long was this happening before I got to the point where someone had to tell me, you must go. I can tell you that maybe 5 years ago, I asked my dentist, why are my teeth moving? I had a perfect smile, no gaps, no, perfect. He even said it was textbook perfect. But I feel my teeth are being pushed at night. I wake up with this pain in my teeth, and it says, well, it's your tongue. It's probably just a real strong tongue. That was about it. I said, well, I am a lawyer. I do work it out quite a bit. My blood pressure started going up, but of course I was an elected official and I had a lot of stress. So I was sure it was related all to that. Stopped being in elected office, and I still had the headaches, and I'm starting to sleep. And the answer was, well, now you've got downtime. So now you're resting from all the stress. And it's like, well, how many naps can I take to make up this? I gained about 20 pounds. I couldn't explain why. I found myself coming home. My practice is a solo practice, but I was always doing interviews, presentations, things that I did as a community leader. So I didn't have time to go home, and I was going home for my my lunch, but I had to sleep at least 2 hours before I could wake up to go back to work, and I thought that was very odd. My days were starting a little later because I had a little bit more time, so I would take my morning breakfast coffee, and I would sleep for about an hour before I could feel like I was trying to wake up. And then that's so weird, you know. I was finally noticing this. My concern on my own level, but completely thinking, you know, it's just that I'm so tired from so many years of being under stress every day, would explain it, but I remember talking to my client, and I remember I don't know what I just told my client. I remember my sister was with me, says, you slur. I said, of course I don't slur. I hear everything I say. And I remember my client's kind of looking at me, and I'm thinking, what kind of horror is it? Your lawyer's falling asleep while you're telling your story, you know? And so I realized that I couldn't be at the office enough. And I would say that as time started progressing, I started making arrangements in my office to remove desks and files so I could bring in a sofa because I needed to sleep. I remember I have done it really often. I would move the chairs and go to bed in my floor in my office to sleep. Being at the computer and I'm asleep. So I would say that in February or so is when I started having this incredible sensation. Like, all I can say is it was here. And I started believing, knowing that I was dying. That's all I could explain. I believe that you have sleep apnea. And he talked to me about what some of those effects. He goes, because you need to do something. It says, because it can be fatal. And that's when I finally took, I didn't take the initiative, they took the initiative for me, because when he came to speak to me, he had a doctor's appointment for me, got me the date, and then him and his wife gave me an envelope with money, says, there's no excuses, you're going.
So I understand that you might have used this CAP program to get.
I did because you know, after the visits, after the testing, they told me you're going to need a machine. It's going to cost you $800. I'm a private pay. I don't have insurance. And I remember thinking, I don't have $800 in my pocket right now, so I'm going to have to figure this out so I can come back when I'm ready to pay for that. But I'm like, if I'm this severe. And that's when I said, do you not have any options? Can I rent a machine? You know, we rent everything else. And they said, oh, well, there is a foundation. And and they helped me I can tell you, they helped me fill out the application. Next thing I talked with the folks, and they says, oh, yes, we're going to send it to you. And then they send it over. And so that really, my life has been changed. You know, I feel that by my cousin coming forward, by this machine being available sooner than thought, knowing what I've been going through, they saved my life.
So how's your life now?
Oh my gosh, it's just so different. I mean, I am awake. I can fight in a courtroom. I can remember what those objections are. I can, because, I make my living out of being able to think on my feet.
Yeah.
And when you're not even thinking, then you realize, I mean, I don't need room for a sofa anymore. I need room for another work area, because my practice is being built back up.
That's super.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
It's like night and day.
What are some of the things that don't work in your current therapy, and what are some of the things that do work?
I'm just learning about this. What I find is I would love to sleep on my side. I find myself, the challenges are learning how to use that machine. Right now I don't know if it's working well or not, because I've got an appointment until July to go back and take the chip and read how it's working. I started traveling, and so now I'm going to be traveling overseas, and and those are I guess minor when you look at them in the short term. I hear everyone talk about things in the long run, but what it does for me, of course, is great. But the challenges are the movements at night, the fact that this is going to be something I have to continuously use now and learn how to use it, and then learn about what kind of machines to use and would be best for me.
Yeah.
And then, are there anything else that I have that I need to start looking at now that I might not have been aware of?
Yeah.
As far as my well-being. So I'm so early in it, I'm not sure.
Have you started looking at duplication and having a second mask and a hose in case one of them gets crushed?
I do have extra when I went in to get fitted, not fitted, but I had a 2-week after visit. I asked about that, so they gave me sites that I have to go to purchase. And so I have to, one of the things to keep in mind is now I have to put this in part of my budget. So often I'm gonna have to invest in this, and how do I learn to upgrade my machine from the one I don't have a humidifier, and of course I'm in a very hot area, so I'm learning.
Sure.
And I'm not sure what questions to ask yet.
Yeah, well,
but
the next phase for me was to learn how to make sure I had everything in case something went wrong. So I lost a mask when I was traveling, and I was in India, and I didn't have a second mask, and it took me many, many days to figure out how to get one.
See, I hadn't even thought about that.
Right, I left it on the train station. I had it separated, 2 bags. I lost one of the bags.
Oh my.
Right, so now I keep a mouth guard, oral appliance in one bag, and I keep the CPAP in a different bag in case one of them, accidentally gets lost. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can talk all about it for a while. What kind of advice would you give other people, and what do you think is like an effective way to help people get over the hump? Because a lot of people don't believe that they have a problem.
I didn't believe I had a problem. It took someone to just pull me aside and do this to me. So I believe one of the major things is outreach. I mean, I can ask anybody in the street in my community about diabetes, and they can probably rattle off symptoms.
Yeah.
So they've done a great job in getting that word out. But when it comes to this, now that I'm in this world, I didn't know anything about it, or very little. And I think that that's extremely important. And as far as I'm concerned, I've heard it already about the doctors. My doctor doesn't ask me about this. And so I just think that there has to be some kind of integration, questionnaire along with the typical, do you have hypertension, anybody in your family, when they give you all these questions, is there a way that we can integrate that? Is there an awareness? And the other is really, I believe in talking. And at a layman's way of doing it for me is just, if I can share my story with you, I can prevent what, perhaps, I had a good friend who died at the age of 36. He didn't wake up. And you hear people say that was a great way to die. They died in their sleep. It's like, no, not when you're 36 and you've got 2 young kids, and I remember talking to him, and he just in talking, he had trouble breathing when he was talking to me.
Yeah.
Had I known then what I know now, would have been more aggressive in saying, let's do something. And so if what I'm going through becomes a, one step to open the door to have that conversation, and someone hears something that no one has ever told them, then that's what I believe we need to do. It's got to be a lot of outreach. You've got to really be able to speak about this.
I'm always surprised at how just a small gesture like you talking to another person about sleep apnea and sharing a couple, stories with them, sometimes they'll come back and say, you know, I heard you at that, you know, dinner, and I did something about it, and you saved my life. If you do it enough, you'll start hearing people tell you that. And so I want to thank you very much for being an advocate.
Well, I thank God for the opportunity to have met people who are helping me in this path. I believe that I still have great purpose in life, and I believe that my life was saved a few months ago. I have turned it around. I am. My doctor also said, you have sleep apnea and you're morbidly obese, and kind of walked out the door. So, okay, I need to do something about everything. So after that, I've changed my nutrition. I am working, and what I gained in 6-7 months, I've lost in about 8 weeks. So I am very thrilled about my life has just been turning around. So
well,
I think
thank you so
you'll have
much
that.
for making the trip out here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.